Virtual Fleet Supervisor prides itself on being the right solution for any size fleet, regardless of the number of vehicles or their types. There are several features built specifically for larger fleets that allow them to manage their fleets more effectively. In this video, we'll discuss some best practices, the features built for large fleets, and steps for implementation. Let's start with best practices. A fleet typically utilizes a blend of two forms of management, vertical and horizontal. The Virtual Fleet Supervisor software supports both of these. In the vertical structure, a person or department typically has one person that they're directly responsible for. In the structure displayed, you see that although the regional manager is responsible for the entire fleet, his direct report is the fleet supervisor. The fleet supervisor may provide reports on entire groups underneath to the regional manager. On the other hand, you see that many different roles report under the branch manager: sales, support, service, maintenance, and dispatch. These have a lateral hierarchy, and these departments would utilize VFS slightly differently in accordance with their needs. For example, the service department may use the system to ensure that a vehicle was on time, whereas maintenance may have to provide a report that shows what work had been done in the last 3 months. In this horizontal management structure, these individuals would only need to have access to certain functions of the application that's specific to their area of responsibility. It's important to create buy-in from your managers in order to realize the value of Virtual Fleet Supervisor. You should be able to convey to them that the system is not an extra task that they have to do, but rather the application saves them time and is actually a success multiplier. The VFS application supports their specific role. Here are some examples. A support manager of a pool cleaning company gets called by a customer who says that no one ever showed up. You can provide irrefutable proof of service that a driver was on time or at a location. A service manager wants to ensure that the vehicles aren't being used during non-working hours. He can create a movement report that alerts him if a vehicle is moved during hours he defined as non-working. We've seen the companies who have had the most successes with the system maximize its effectiveness by having upper management explain to their managers exactly what they want accomplished and who is responsible for that. By establishing clear responsibilities and specific goals, you allow the manager to know exactly what area you want to correct or improve. Without this guidance, the fleet manager can't know where to start with the system since they don't know what the desired end state is. This goes much deeper than providing a login to a subordinate and saying, use this tool to make our fleet better. You want to let the manager know what area you're looking to improve or correct and the desired results you want to achieve in specific and measurable terms. A good example would be, Tom, we've seen fuel costs increase at an alarming rate. Can you use this tool to lower unnecessary idling and increase dispatch efficiency so we can reduce fuel costs? If we could get fuel costs back down near 01 numbers, that would be ideal. The manager is clear on what is wanted, therefore he knows to use the dispatch tool and idling reporting tool to achieve that, and he knows the benchmark that he's looking for. Please note, Virtual Fleet Supervisor has created an employee supervisor template that can help you define how to use our system to best address certain problems, as well as other useful tips and suggestions to help you maximize the application's effectiveness for your fleet. It's important to know that the application allows you to manage by exception. This allows you to save a tremendous amount of time when it comes to fleet management. Instead of having to look at the activity details of every vehicle in your fleet to learn if there's a deviance from your policies, the system allows you to define the parameters that are important to you and only having to intervene when drivers fail to meet your set policies. You can also save time by setting up various alerts that notify you through email or text when a certain event has transpired. Some examples of alerts you can receive include being alerted when a maximum speed is passed, landmarks are entered or exited, first movement of the day, and more. Let's discuss some of the features tailored to the needs of large fleets. The first feature is scalable visibility from fleet-wide down to the individual level. As mentioned earlier, depending on your role within the organization, you'll have different responsibilities. For some tasks, you may need to look at what every vehicle is doing, and other duties may only need you to look at one vehicle. You can easily do one or the other. Let's look at the system and show you how. Log into the system and click on the Reports tab. On this screen, if you wanted to see the individual users, you would just click on the name. Or, if you wanted to see your entire fleet's activities, you'd click on the text link at the top. Let's do that. On either screen, you also have the ability to segment by groups, but let's keep it as all groups for this example. You'd enter the date and time that you want and hit go. You can see that all the fleet's activity is now displayed. The second feature is a robust search functionality that allows access to specific vehicles quickly. Numerous tabs include this functionality to include the locations, reports, devices, alerts, landmarks, maintenance, and users. Let's look at some examples. On the Devices tab, for example, you can enter a device name or an IMEI number. For this example, we only have 4 drivers, but you can imagine if a company had thousands and we're looking for a particular driver, how much time that can save. Let's now go to the Maintenance tab. In this tab, you can see you have many filtering options to help you conduct a quick search to include mileage left, name of activity, status, and others. Let's put in status as tire rotation. Now you can see how this feature would benefit a large fleet. The next feature is allowing you to segment by groups. Let's create a new group to show you how easy this is to do. Click on the Groups tab and you'll see all of the current groups that are created. Click on Add New Group. Enter whatever name you want the group to be called. We'll call this Demo 2013. Select an icon. Choose if we want any existing devices in this group. We don't, so we'll just hit Create Group. You can now see this group is created. Throughout the system, the groups are annotated by name, color designation on maps, and these groups can be sorted and filtered for various reports as well. This is especially useful for large fleets if your driver's responsibilities differ by region, location, service, or other segmentation. The next feature is custom permission levels. As discussed earlier, a person's role can determine what items they have access to in the application. You can easily allow multiple managerial layers and have assigned vehicles visibility. We're going to change demo user's permission level by clicking on Edit, clicking on the Permission section, and changing from Master to Custom Tab Access and Limited Group Access. We're then going to select the features we want to allow demo user and also the groups they can see, then scroll down and hit Update. The next feature is Mass Action. These 3 sections that this applies to are landmarks, alerts, and maintenance tasks. Let's look at landmarks first. You can choose between changing the radius or setting up an alert for every landmark through this tab. If you choose the radius, you can increase or decrease the size of all landmarks, and if you choose the alerts, you can choose to receive alerts or not. You can also delete all landmarks on this tab if you ever choose to. On the Alerts tab, I can choose all of the fleet or choose a specific group. Choose the alert I want to enable and hit Set Alert. The last mass action is under the Maintenance tab. Click on Create a New Task. You see in the drop-down menu that you have the choice between a single device, a group, or all devices. You can set a maintenance task for any of these levels by filling out the fields and hitting Create. Let's talk about some of the elements of successful fleet implementation. The first element is having an installation timeline. Establish when and how you're going to integrate the devices. For example, are you going to have each vehicle's device installed the same time, or will you stagger times? Consider what makes the best sense for your company in regards to logistics when deciding the timeline of the installation. Next, we highly suggest you ask your managers to watch the training videos on the system. Be reminded that if you have to choose to give access only to specific sections and tabs, the user will only be able to see the videos related to those sections. There are 2 types of videos on the system, tab-related and overview. For every tab, you can click here to find a demo video that explains exactly what the purpose of that specific tab is and how it's used. The second type of video are overviews of various topics. These can be found by clicking on the Support tab, then clicking on the training video icon. Then just select which video you'd like to see. The next suggestion we have for you is to meet with your employees and management. This is where you set up expectations, define policies, and answer any questions. We've created 2 documents that will assist you in this, depending on your role within the organization. We have a supervisor manual template that we discussed briefly above, and also an employee manual. Both of these are templates. Lastly, to make sure that your implementation is successful, have time scheduled when you review the progress of your fleet and see if there are other areas or trends that you may need the system to address. If you have any other questions about how to utilize the features VFS offers for your large fleet, please contact support through our support tab to open a case or simply call us at 1-800-746-5170.